without you.
Thank you,
Yeah, no problem. What I was going to say is that for those of you who may not know, Rivertown started with the whole idea of doing a little piece for a great city. And you can't boil the ocean. So with Tom Evans, who you see up on the in my upper left there, he and I together said, okay, let's see what we can do a little bit. And so we created together the Rivertown Detroit Association, and with the support of Constance Bailey, who's our chairman of welcoming. I have more people coming in. I keep clicking here while everybody comes on. We decided to do that. So what we did was we said, okay, and Tom remembers this. We said, let's plan our first meeting and let's see if there's interest in what we are doing. So our first meeting was planned at the IHOP, and it was at 5 o'clock. And we had the commander of the 7th precinct, our guest, and we said, okay, let's see who shows up and if we have an idea that's going to work. And not only did everybody show up, but we had 25 people at the IHOP and listening to what was happening in the 7th precinct back then. And back then, the 7th precinct had some issues related to crime. And so we partnered with the 7th to be their civilian partner to be able to help out any way we could. And that's really how we got started. And we go back to that, and we have met up until this year every single month on a monthly basis. And normally we do meet in person. I think everybody is, I certainly have enjoyed the meetings where we get together in person. But I think that the idea of at least getting together here and being able to see each other and stay up to date on what's happening in Rivertown is as close as we can get and still be safe. And the most important thing, because we looked at maybe trying to get together, but the risk, the safety risk far outweighed anything that we could come up with. So we said, okay, let's do a monthly Zoom, which is what we're doing here. And we will continue to do this. And I'll announce we have a guest speaker for December. I'll get to that at the end. But the idea here is to be able to bring people who are noted in Detroit. You may not have the opportunity to meet this individual, but you have the opportunity to hear what they're doing, which is so important for the city, and ask some questions as well. And that's the whole idea. And some of you have been with me and with Tom and Constance when we've had the mayor, Chief Craig. We've had a whole group of folks to be able to meet and talk with the group, and you've been able to go one-on-one with them. And that's the whole idea. Bring them to this group in Rivertown, find out what is on, and be able to ask questions. And that's really what we're all about. And we'll continue to do that as a service for all of us to stay on top of it, and also to create the Rivertown community, or as we call it, the sliver on the river. So we have a couple more people checking in here, and then we're going to get started here. And again, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy day to join us here for this meeting. We'll probably have close to 50 that'll be on. And those of you who, if you're familiar with Zoom, you know that to the right, you'll see a little arrow. You can see all the other folks who might be on the call with us as well. If you have questions, you can just jump into chat at the bottom there, and you in fact can just shoot me a note and I'll see it and I'll answer it. If not, at the end, as we get to it, Dennis is going to be happy to take questions. So we'll be happy to do that as well. So one way or the other, we'll get to it. we will end promptly at 6. You all know me. I like to stay on time, and I'm respectful of your time as well. So with that, we're going to get started. And I want to welcome you all to the first of our monthly Zoom meetings again. We're getting things back on track again. I am not sitting on the scholarship yacht that we used for scholarships for Martin Luther King, but it was a great shot of Detroit with an American flag, and I thought it'd be a great background. Otherwise, I'd have a sweater or a coat on or something. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. We appreciate your time. With me is Tom Evans. Tom is to my left here. I don't know if he's in there somewhere, maybe not to the left. But Tom is the person that I convinced to help me with this whole idea of Rivertown, and has come back after retirement to help us out again. So Tom, thank you. And I don't know if Constance Bailey is on or not. I know she was down picking up her daughter from college. If not, but Constance has been very instrumental as the welcoming committee. And many of you know her from our meetings. So hopefully down the road, in 6 months possibly, if not sooner, maybe later, we will in fact be able to get together again. That is my goal. And we'll, again, as we have in the past, move around Rivertown, visit places maybe you've never been, and some places you'd like to go to, but more importantly, be able to bring to you I call them the movers and shakers of the city of Detroit. And with that, I know I could do a sound check. Oh, there's Dennis. I see him. Okay, sound check with Dennis. Are you there, Dennis? Can I hear you?
I'm here, Chip.
All right, Dennis, you're the man. Okay, it is my pleasure to introduce Dennis Archer Jr. And you talk about the epitome of Detroit and the commitment to Detroit. Dennis, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining the Rivertown Association meeting here. A little background on, he is CEO of a company called Ignition Media Group. They're a leading integrated marketing agency in the city of Detroit. He also founded a group called ACS, which is Archer Corporate Services, and they do programs for many of the Fortune 500. He also has a fulfillment firm that works with the Fortune 500. In addition to that, Dennis is a real estate developer, and he's been involved with many projects, many high-profile projects. The Talon Center is one. I know out in Grosse Pointe here, the Kirchhoff Point, but he's ingrained in real estate, with a marketing background certainly, but ingrained in real estate, and his interest in the city of Detroit, and in particular for Rivertown. A little background, he is a civic and philanthropic leader, philanthropic leader, and he has been the past chair of the Detroit Regional Chamber Board of Directors. He has been the past chair of the 2016 Mackinac Policy Conference. He is founder and the chair of the Paradise Valley Foundation. He sits on the board of the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy and a number of others. He sits on a number of boards, one that he was appointed to by Mary Barra, which is the General Motors Inclusion Advisory, and he sits on Independent Bank. He is an undergraduate of the University of Michigan and also has his law degree from Michigan, and he has a degree from Northwestern's College of School of Management, the Kellogg School. It is, I got to let some more people in. It is my pleasure to introduce Dennis Archer and thank him for his commitment to Rivertown and the city of Detroit. There's a lot of things going on that are not pleasant and not fun, not happy times. But when you hear of something like the Rivertown market coming, we all get excited, and it's something to look forward to. So with that, Dennis, the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, Chip, and thanks for having me. Let me say from the outset that I wish I were able to join you all in a common room. perhaps with some hors d'oeuvres and wine. But this will have to do given what we're dealing with presently. Second of all, Chip makes my background and bio sound far more impressive than what it is. So Chip, I thank you for that. And I see a number of friends and colleagues that are participating on the call beyond Chip. I see Laura's on, Commander Hope, and thanks to any other DPD officer that's on the call and for the work that you do. Shahida, we look forward to being back down at the Aretha Franklin Amphitheater this summer with you. And Stephanie Chang, thank you for your service. What Chip didn't mention is I personally have a lot of history with the Rivertown and Lafayette Park neighborhood. I grew up on St. Alban near Lafayette on Thornhill Place. 2 blocks away, my grandparents lived on St. Alban Place, and I was able to walk to their home for my early years. I owned a failed restaurant called Sauce, and for those of you who have been in the neighborhood for a number of years, Sauce was what is now got absorbed by Atwater Block Brewery. But I would say that's where I got my MBA, because I learned everything not to do in business in that experience. And fortunately now my restaurant, Central Kitchen and Bar, which is a success and 5 years old downtown, is the beneficiary of the failed circumstances of Sauce. I'll give you a little history of how we got to Rivertown Market. And Chip gave me kind of some direction as it relates to our chat together. I'd rather be very conversational. So either just interrupt me, raise your hand, hit the chat, say excuse me, and we can have more of a dialogue as opposed to me speaking for 20 minutes. But as it relates to the Rivertown Market, that a year from now we'll all be able to shop there. Several years ago, we developed Redford Marketplace, which is at the corner of Grand River and McNichols on the northwest side of the city. It was the 1.5 million square foot Redford High School that had since been shuttered, was asbestos ridden, boarded up, an eyesore for the community. So we approached the DPS to acquire that property and then to have some time to go and pursue a retailer. And we went to the shopping center conventions in Vegas, made our rounds to all the national big box retailers, all the time hoping that we could come to a deal with the Meyer Corporation, because we felt that they would best understand what was going on in Detroit and not pay attention to negative press, because they're located just 2 hours up 96 and they're a Michigan headquartered company. Fast forward, we are able to execute that deal. We developed a 219,000 square foot Meyer store there. We delivered Commander a new 8th precinct to the DPD that was in the old Adult Wellbeing Community Center. So now it's a beautiful 8th precinct. There's some ancillary shopping, a gas station, etc. That was the second Meyer in the city of Detroit, with the first being at 8 Mile and Woodward. Very soon thereafter, we approached the Meyer Corporation and said, hey, there's still significant parts of Detroit that are very thirsty and hungry, no pun intended, for more sort of grocery and retail outlets. And let me also say, as we get down now to how we approached East Jefferson, you know, a lot of the press that has come out about this store is talking about being a food desert throughout the city of Detroit. And I would just like to acknowledge the fact that there are a number of quality supermarkets in the greater downtown area. And we by no way, shape, or form believe that this Meyer is going to be the only grocer downtown. And we appreciate the fact that there are predecessors. However, I would tell you that if you would go into the suburbs, and for those of you who may live in the suburbs or have friends or family in the suburbs, or if you've grown up in the suburbs, you recognize that there are choices. There are small markets. There are family-owned specialty markets. There are big box Targets that have grocery stores, and Meijer and Walmart and Kroger, etc., Trader Joe's. We just feel, and I feel, with all my businesses being officed in Detroit and living in Detroit, that Detroiters should have choices. So we're just bringing another choice to the area. Having said that, that location, I wish I could say it was rocket science, but it's not. It's on East Jefferson in an amazing neighborhood with a lot of rooftops. And so the location made sense. Once we had the location, then the next question was, how do you pigeonhole something on that site? The Meyer Corporation, normally when you go to a Meyer, I mentioned the 219,000 square foot store on the northwest side of the city of Detroit. That is their typical footprint. You can go to the store, you can walk out of there with groceries, clothing for your kids, a bike, a VCR. Well, I don't think anyone's buying those anymore. Maybe a DVD player, and a flat screen television, and a grill, all at a Meyer. Their new format and able to go into more densely populated urban areas is a grocery only format. The first of which was on Bridge Street in Grand Rapids. The second of which is in Lansing. Third of which is in Royal Oak at the corner of 13 Mile and Woodward. And the fourth will be our location on East Jefferson, 42,000 square foot grocery store. For any of you that travel to Grand Rapids on any regular basis, I would strongly suggest that you go visit the Bridge Street Market because it's beautiful. I don't care what market that you think aesthetically looks great, as well as has tremendously fresh produce at very reasonable prices. This will rival that. When I walked in the door, I was personally floored at what a beautiful market it was. And they're able to provide, because of the buying power of Meyer, they're able to pass those cost savings on. So they have a beautiful environment, fresh produce at very competitive and reasonable prices, which will benefit the community and those that choose to shop in the store. Some of you may recall that the initial press conference we had in 2017 regarding this site set out a plan where we would have 214 apartment units, 20% of which were to be affordable, atop the 42,000 square foot store. From the time we announced to the time we were going to begin construction, construction costs went up 30 to 35%. This is not a story that you all are probably not familiar with, because you've probably seen starts and stops and stalls with many of the construction projects in that greater neighborhood. That, coupled with the COVID pandemic, the coronavirus setting upon us, we decided that it was in our best fiscal interest to not pursue the apartments and the grocery store. So at that juncture, we went back to the Meyer Corporation and to the mayor and said, the apartments just don't make sense for us. In large part, this may be too much detail, but for those of you that are interested, the plan called for 200 underground parking spots, and that was going to add $2 or $3 million to the cost of the project. And we had to have parking for the apartments. And so it just didn't make sense at the end of the day. So everyone seemed excited for us to have this grocery approach. I'd like to thank Chip and all of you on the phone who came to the community meetings, one of which was in a blizzard, I think last year at the Rattlesnake Club. And I have found that this association and the surrounding communities all have been very supportive. I've got many emails with suggestions. I just got an email from a gentleman, I believe from the Mies van der Rohe area, or the Lafayette Park area, wanting to ensure we are going to have charging stations in the project. And so a little bit more about the project. It's 42,000 square feet of grocery. There's 100 dedicated parking spots adjacent to the building. Some of the concerns that the community typically would have about a new project like this is increased traffic counts. Are there going to be deliveries in the middle of the night? Are we going to see trucks outside? When are they going to pick up the garbage? Are the lights from the parking lot going to be glaring into my window? You know, all of those concerns have been addressed. And I think that the design of the building, which I'd be happy to provide to you, Chip, and you can distribute to the broader body so they can see the renderings of the latest iteration. And we shared those at the press conference a few weeks ago as well. So we're very excited. We very much want to be a part of the community. Like the execution at McNichols and Grand River, we're going to engage the community groups in the neighborhoods to ensure that those that want jobs in the store from the neighborhood get first look. At the Redford Marketplace, we engaged the Motor City Blight Busters and Pastor Jerome Warfield to get the word out, got the job descriptions out. We had people from Meyer HR come down. We held a forum where people interested in jobs came in. We went through each job description and we talked about, if you want to be the store manager, this is what your resume needs to look like. If you want to be a cashier, this is what it needs to look like, etc. These jobs have 401k, full benefits, great wages, and a great opportunity for growth within the organization, not only within that store, but within the Meyer Corporation as a whole. One of the things we agreed to do as well is to make enhancements to the adjacent park. As you are aware, that Greening of Detroit Park is there, along with the sculpture that was dedicated by the Sachs family. And so we are going to make improvements to the park. Some of you may have participated in the study. Those of you who live in the Lafayette Park area in particular, a study was executed a number of years ago where they did a survey and they asked the residents what they would want to see in terms of improvements of in the park. This was executed by the city of Detroit. They passed that data on to us, and so we're taking that feedback into consideration when we're making those improvements. And so you'll see that as a last phase, probably in the third quarter of next year as construction is completing. And so we're very excited to be part of the neighborhood. We plan to stay engaged with Chip and the balance of you. Everybody's been very supportive heretofore. I have found the Meyer Corporation to be very philanthropic in their locales. And so some of the local charities that are over in the part of town where Redford Marketplace is, they support it. If you guys have local charities and events that happen, Chip, down in your particular neighborhood, I'm sure that we can make that connection, and I'm sure that they will be supportive of what you're doing down here as well. And so, okay, we have some questions. I'm going to break now because we have action in the chat, Chip. I would like to help bring back Paradise Valley. Where's James? Who's I can't see. I got too much. I see that James Simrad asked that question, and so James,
hey, Dennis, thank you.
Oh, there he is.
I'm a big jazz fan. I helped with the Detroit Jazz Festival for over 30 years. Knows Chris Collins, and that was just a tremendous asset for the city of Detroit. And I know there's been some false starts and some dreams and things like that to bring jazz back to that whole corridor. So anytime I see something pop up that there's somebody that might be interested, I'm willing and able to help promote that.
So thank you, James. So if you would allow me to bring some context around James's comment.
Sure.
In addition to being a partner in the Rivertown market, I'm also the managing partner in the redevelopment of some properties in which used to be called Harmony Park. It's now called Paradise Valley. And we've acquired a couple of buildings, and we're redeveloping that whole neighborhood around the Beatrice Buck Park. And the whole theme and the mission behind this redevelopment is to not go back to the days of Paradise Valley and Black Bottom, but to be inspired by them and to have the spirit of Black entrepreneurship, Black ownership, and entertainment, retail, and workplace hub, for that to now come back to or be inspired to come into a new rendition of that. And so James, there will be a jazz club or two over there, so I'd be happy to talk about that with you. You can get my contact information from Chip, and we'd love to have you be involved in there as well.
Thank you. It just helps to have find out who's kind of inspired by this whole idea, and keep the jazz, which is, Detroit is probably one of the greatest hubs for jazz in the world. Over.
Absolutely. I think that you will find that it will be well represented in the redevelopment that happens over there. So thank you for the comment, James. Sherry Hope Smith asked, since the housing component is not a part of this as it stands now, will it be in the future? And Sherry, we made a decision not to prepare the facility for future apartment growth. We're going just with the retail operation. We did look at the possibility of providing enough foundational support in the building, both footings and then the roof, to give us an opportunity in the future to build up, but it just didn't make sense economically once again. Further, there are a lot of announced redevelopment and new ground up developments in the Rivertown and Lafayette neighborhood for residents. And so we figured let the residential specialists do their thing and we will do our thing in the retail space, if that answers your question. Lemoyne Vinay was asking about construction opportunities that will exist. The prime, the general contractor has been selected, and if you've driven by, you've seen there's a lot of activity on the lot. But the general contractor is also my partner in the deal. However, they are committed to using local and Detroit-based minority-owned firms. And so if this question is on your behalf, you can get my information from Chip and I'll get it right to the correct people. Or if you have someone in mind, you can connect me to those folks and I'll make sure they get to the right people. Ronald Stefanski, hey Ron, asked about the merchandise mix. I think that there will be, I can't speak to the exact mix at this point, Ron, but I think that it would be at par with what you would see at Kroger or Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. There'll be an emphasis on Michigan-based product, as well as, and I know that at the location in Grand Rapids, they have a tremendous craft beer section that's beautifully built out. And just by way of an example, as it relates to their commitment to the local community, when we first were touring the broader area of Grand River and Lasser and McNichols in that neighborhood, we walked into Sweet Potato Sensation, which is on Lasser near Grand River. And the then CEO of Meijer went in, ordered some desserts, loved it, and promised the owners that when the store opened in 18 months, he would ensure that they carried their product, and he followed through on that. And so if any of you have any ideas as it relates to local vendors, suppliers, as it relates to people that would like their goods sold in the store, I'd also be very willing to pass that along. That is not, as a developer, a decision that we make, but I know that Meijer would be open to carrying those goods. So Beth Conrad wants to know, where am I living? And she loves Central. So Beth, Central is open. Fortunately, we had a outdoor patio, which it only seats 50 people max, but we're allowed to be open under the new guidelines. So I hope that you'll come down and support us, but there's also carry out and delivery. And I live in the Palmer Woods area now. I'm always born and raised in the city of Detroit, never left.
What's your address on your restaurant there, Dennis? What is it?
It's at 660 Woodward, Central Kitchen and Bar. Thanks for asking, Chip.
No, absolutely. And the address is going to be on Jefferson. What's the address on? Do you have that as far as what the
right? The working address is 1475 East Jefferson. There are 2 or 3 addresses because we put together 2 or 3 parcels to form this. So what will be the actual working address at the end of the day? I'm not sure, but likely to be 1475 East Jefferson.
The other question I've gotten before is that there is more land there. Would Meyer consider, once this is up and operating, expanding?
Well, there's not that much more free land because, you know, there's the park itself, and then there was land to the west that one of my partners owned, where the old YWCA was, that burned down, and then he acquired that land. And so the land between his lot and the park, which looked like maybe to the unknowing eye, it looked like just one big, you know, green space. Part of that space was actually just excess land on the city's books, I think in the Department of maybe Public Works, but it's not a park. And so we acquired half of that centerpiece from the city. So there's technically half of that left between our lot line and the park. And so there's not a lot to do there.
Okay.
And we would never, that park is beautiful. And so we have no intentions of trying to do anything with that park but beautify it for the neighborhood. And I'm not sure what the Zeo Credit Union and everyone are doing to the west of us right now. Our main deal is to get in the ground and try to beat the winter months and get ahead of the construction.
And when do you anticipate you'll be able to walk in and buy at the Rivertown market? What's your thinking here?
Probably mid to late third quarter of next year. So probably about right now, between, you know, October, beginning of October to no later than the middle of November. So a year from now, you should be able to shop in the store.
And how many employees will be there working at the store?
Chip, we estimate about 100 full-time jobs that will be once the store opens. And then, of course, there'll be a number of service jobs. You know, the grass will need to be cut, the windows will need to be cleaned, that sort of thing. But in-store jobs, roughly about 100. And, you know, for Lemoyne's question, in addition to obviously the construction jobs to build the store, those other ancillary support service businesses are eligible as well. And you guys should funnel those names to us. And Prima, thank you for posting the link to the website. I appreciate it.
Will this Meyer be open 24/7?
No. The Meyer that is on, neither of the Meyers are open 24 hours. The one that we developed, well, let me take that back. I don't know for a fact whether 8 Mile and Woodward is not open for 24 hours, but I know the Redford Marketplace is not. I believe it closes at its latest during the season, 11 in the evening. So there's no plans for this to be a 24-hour store.
Thank you.
Lawrence asked about, Lawrence asked about, and referencing Martin Luther King High School students, inquired about community objectives, also if there be any training opportunities or progression opportunities. So first of all, Lawrence, I'd love to talk to the assistant principal if that's something that you think that he or she would find value, to give a little bit more background. I don't know of any internship type programs per se that would be available, but I do know that probably for those high school students who are considered part of the neighborhood that would want part-time jobs, that those opportunities would absolutely exist. And then through those part-time jobs, obviously there's the opportunity to matriculate upwards through the organization as they spend more time working there. Sherry asked, will we work with the Department of Labor for apprentice type jobs, community colleges, etc.? I don't know. I think they'd be open to it. I don't know in a typical retail environment, as opposed to a commercial office environment, that those sorts of partnerships take place, but I know that they would be open to it. And I've got a great relationship. Actually, one of my clients is Wayne County Community College, whom I'm sure would be happy to work with Meyer to try to develop something like retail management or something along those lines.
So Dennis, let me ask you this. If you are thinking about maybe an opportunity at the Rivertown market, and we're looking at maybe an October of next year opening, maybe November, how does someone get in touch with the person who will be doing the hiring? How do they get their resume in front of people, and when should they think about doing that?
Yeah, we will be coming to you. I mean, we will be coming to you. We're going to work with Councilwoman Sheffield's office and the mayor's district managers from the neighborhood to ensure that we get the word out. We probably will host something, hopefully by the time we look to do that, which would probably be somewhere in, late winter or early spring. And hopefully by then we can gather face to face, and we'll do what we did there and give another overview of the project, as well as then talk about each of the different job levels or positions, and talk about what the requirements are for each of those positions. Because what we want to do is have the right people apply for the right jobs. And so we will share what all those job descriptions are, give an overview of the store, what the job requirements are, get that information out, and then we'll be able to funnel in resumes and job applications from that point forward.
There was a question about a website, if there'll be a website. I saw that one come in on chat there.
You would have to visit the Meyer website to see. I mean, that if there were a website, it would be one that would be put up by the retailer, not us as the landlord. And so I know that Meyer does have a website for their smaller format stores. If any of you care to look up Bridge Street Market, which is the one in Grand Rapids, and if there is a Bridge Street Market website, you can be sure there will be a Rivertown Market website.
Dennis, do you know if they're planning on following the pattern of the Woodward Corners?
Tom, and by that, so Woodward Corners, for those of you who don't know, Tom is referencing the newest small format store, which is on the corner of 13 and Woodward. And so, Tom, your question in terms of following the pattern, are you speaking of store decor and that sort of thing?
Right, exactly.
So, Tom, the only store that I've been in is, of the three that exist, is the one that's in Grand Rapids, which is very rich, dark woods and reclaimed steel and reclaimed woods from the neighborhood. So if that store looks similar, then I'm sure that, yes, the inside will look the same. The other thing that's very exciting, and this is, Chip, again, something that maybe you guys can help promote. They want to get local young Detroit artists to do beautiful murals on the outer walls of the building. And the murals will be of, fresh fruit and vegetables, something befitting a grocery store. And there probably will be there will be some sort of contest that will be announced, so designs can be submitted, and so that we can find hopefully some young talented Detroiter to put their artwork on the outer walls of the building.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Take advantage.
Just a little commercial for the store in general. If it's going to be like Woodward Corners, it is an absolutely beautiful grocery store.
Yes, it is.
It's we have a blend of products that I've never seen anywhere else. They're real heavily involved with neighborhood. You buy mixed nuts, they come from Eastern Market. You buy salsa, it comes from Ferndale. Their bread's from Avalon. Their donuts are from the Daily Dozen at 9 Mile and Shaner. They have all kinds of local products, local produce, Michigan-sourced meat products and all that. When you walk in, your initial reaction, once you get past the beautiful produce department, is that, oh, this place must really be expensive. Then you realize it's actually a Meijer's, because they do have some Meijer's branded stuff too. And the Woodward Corners Market is in a very competitive area between the Westbourne Market and the Holiday Market downtown Royal Oak. And Woodward Corners is holding its own just fine. It's a beautiful store.
It's beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, thanks, Tom and Constance. And, I would suggest that, again, if you have any suggestions at things that you love about that store or things that you don't love about the store, feel free to funnel those and I will pass those along.
No, it'd be nice if this store is, models that, because it's really a nice store, pleasant to go in. And like you said, when you first walk in, you think that, oh, this is a high end, but it's Meijer's with some of the Meijer's brand. But I like the fact that they are using local products.
And thank you, Constance. Sonia asked Robinson, where can we learn more about the artist contest? We will, everything that we do as a developer and everything that Meyer ends up doing in terms of hiring and that sort of thing, CHIP will always be a conduit for us to get to the broader community. I'd have no problem also interacting with any of you individually, but when all these things, when we start talking about the jobs and the availability, that will go to CHIP. And when we launch the artist contest, that will be a big PR push. So it'll be in the paper and on the news, but we'll also send that through CHIP as well. And for Lawrence Fitz, you can also either contact me directly or reach out through CHIP as it relates to the assistant principal at Martin Luther King High School.
Actually, that's who you're talking to, Dennis. He is the assistant principal.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
he is the main man there.
All right. Well, then there we go.
Yes,
And the principal
sirree.
is on too.
Yes.
Dr. Jenkins is on board. Principal.
Oh, is she there? Where's Dr.
Yes.
Jenkins? Dr. Jenkins is on. She is the principal. So you have a
great.
full audience here of Martin Luther King.
All right. So yeah. So to the both of you, to the extent that students would be interested in either A, this art contest, or B, part-time jobs or jobs when we get to that point, love to work with the kids in the neighborhood and from your school for sure. James has a broader question about, with COVID-19, what is your perspective on the Detroit rebound? Look, James, I think Detroit is probably among, if not the most resilient and tenacious city in the country. And so we have gone through a couple instances of racial strife. We've experienced multiple economic downturns. This is different because obviously it's a health crisis. It is one that is extraordinarily contagious. It is very dangerous.
Dennis Archer Jr. speaking.
But hey, James, you got to put yourself on mute, man.
Yep, you're on mute. On mute. Okay.
But I think that we're going to get through this. I think that we're going to come out of this with some new realities. I think that from how people work, I think a lot of people are understanding that working from home is a model that can be successful. I think that's going to shake up the commercial, particularly the office real estate market. I think that you're going to have a lot of employees who are going to want to work from home. I think that how offices are designed and laid out are going to be different from the research I've studied. In terms of when people go into the office, they're going to want that office to feel more homely and less officey, if that's a word. But I think from an economic standpoint, I mean, it's a setback for sure. I mean, I know that if I look at my restaurant, we used to employ 50 people. When we reopened after 6 months of being closed, we opened with 30 or 33 people. And now during this 3-week period, which I'm would be willing to bet it's probably going to last through the first of the year, which would make it a 6-week period, we are probably going to operate with 10 or 12 people. And I mean, this is a horrendous time to have to go through that, because particularly in the hospitality industry, you have a lot of people that are hourly workers that make their money based on tips, who you're basically telling you can't come to work the week before Thanksgiving and 5 weeks before Christmas. So it's a terrible position to be in. But I think that this is what we have to do as a community to get better faster. And I also think that the decision that was made by the governor, notwithstanding anyone's politics, is rooted in large part because people were not following the very simple guidelines of social distancing, washing your hands, and most importantly, masking up.
Other questions? I did have a question about that. We are recording, and we will work to have this recording available for anybody who maybe was not able to join us right at the beginning or would like to listen to it again, and we'll figure out the best way to put that out there, everybody. Other questions for Dennis at all from the group? Well, what I want to say first of all is I got to know Dennis Archer back when he started to do these. This is what we're thinking about doing, and we're going to have a market with Myers. He did his due diligence, and he's right. The one was a snowstorm. But what's unique about Dennis, I will say this, is he listened, and he did incorporate the ideas that came up from the groups that met with him into the final Meyer location. The other thing that for me personally I was very excited about was the name, Rivertown. One of the things we have worked hard at is making Rivertown a destination, a place people can come. They can come down to Rivertown, they can go into the Meyer, the Rivertown market, they can get sandwiches, they can walk down to the riverfront, they can sit on the most beautiful piece of geography looking over the Detroit River and watch the boats go by or the ships go by. So what you've been able to do is bring a location where people can come, make it a destination, and build on that in a beautiful area, which the Conservancy has done an awesome job in building the walkways, the river walk. And now we have a place you can go in there quickly, grab something, and excuse me, go down to the riverfront. And naming it the Rivertown Market, I can't tell you how much, again, I appreciate that in helping us brand the area that we all live and work in. So other questions, last call for questions for Dennis. At all from anybody?
Dennis, I don't know that you have anything to do with knowing about the Pancake House.
I can tell you about the Pancake House. I don't know if Dennis is, I happen to know him, but the IHOP, and this is another good thing that's been going on. Those of you who may not know, the IHOP location was sold, and the pancakes will actually be sold there, and is going to become the Detroit House of Pancakes. Sometime, the original opening was supposed to be December 1st. A developer by the name of Michael Higgins, who I happen to know, my office is right next door to it. So he called me up and he said, Chip, I'm your new neighbor. And I said, you are? He said, yep. I said, yeah. He said, I bought the IHOP and it's going to become the Detroit House of Pancakes. And I said, great. He said, yep. He said, we're going to have a liquor license. We're going to have pancakes, and we're going to serve mimosas for anybody who would like something to drink with their pancakes. And I'm looking at around December. Now that's obviously delayed. But Michael Higgins, again, like Dennis, is devoted and dedicated to the city of Detroit. And so I said to him, I said, now I've known Michael for a while. I said, Michael, I didn't know you could cook. And he said, I can't. I said, okay. He said, but I do have a secret recipe that we'll be using at the Detroit House of Pancakes. So I'll leave that to everybody to think about as far as that location. But that, and then there's other developments coming along in different locations in various places. I know that Amir from Banyan is working on the Lakeview property that overlooks the Belle Isle area. This is where the Big Boy used to be. So amongst the pandemic and much of what we're stressed under, there are some exciting things happening. And that's what this meeting is all about, because all of you, all of us are Detroit. We are the ingredients that makes Detroit work. And that's why we have someone like Dennis come on, and your commitment, Dennis, certainly is outstanding, and we appreciate that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to the group, Dennis? Oh, I see a couple more questions coming in.
Yeah, I have a question. Is anything being done to clean up the liquor store across the street on Jefferson?
Well, unfortunately, Charlene, that's nothing that, well, maybe it's fortunately, Charlene, but that's not within the realm of our responsibility. So you probably have to take that up with the owners.
Well, yeah, but there are cops in there every weekend. You're going to discourage people from coming in your place. They hang the crowd that hangs out in that parking lot.
Well, we certainly hope that gets remedied by the time we open the store a year from now.
Well, we have the finest DPD on, so I'm sure that they're focused on that because we all want the Rivertown market to be extremely successful from that standpoint. Any last minute questions, and then we'll wrap it up here. I do have for you, Dennis, we have a Rivertown. I'm gonna see if I can get this to show up here. We do have a logo. It's not going to show up on my camera. A Rivertown logo that we sign, and normally if we're together, I'd be presenting it to you. So I'll virtually present this to you, and to thank you so very, very much for being a part of our meeting as we relaunch things here. And we appreciate your comments, and I'll pass on anything I can.
Oh, there it is. Constance has one. There we go.
Okay. Constance got it. Constance and,
Yeah,
and Constance, there it is. Thank you, Constance. Constance Bailey, our welcoming committee chairman. So the other part of the group here, you see Constance, that's who that is. As I wrap up here, again, I want to thank everybody. Next month, we are going to have on December 17th, Thursday, 5 to 6, Dr. Nikolai Vitti. I talked to him about coming to the group. We had tried to originally get him, but things came up. I chatted this week with his office, and he's committed to the 17th for an hour with the Rivertown members to talk about COVID, to talk about children, to talk about where we've been and where he thinks we're going. So if you know anyone that would like to join us, I'm happy to invite him, but he is looking forward to that. We also are looking to January, and if anybody has any specific ideas about people you'd like to have us invite to the Zoom, like Dennis, just shoot me a note. I try not to bother you with emails, only a couple just to remind you when we're getting together. But I'm always open, Tom and Constance and I, open to ideas. So please share those with us. Any follow-up questions, and certainly I will keep everybody posted on some of the things we talked about here that Dennis is bringing to Rivertown. And again, Dennis, thank you very much. Good luck. And if we can do anything more with you, just let us know. Otherwise, I will be in touch. And
Yes.
other than that, I want to thank everybody and wish everybody a safe and very happy Thanksgiving. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody next month with Dr. Vitti. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Great job, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.